This one, let's go back to Joel Embiid. Does have a history of injuries. The back injury he's dealing with, remember he had the bad back at the end of his career at Kansas, missed his final 6 games there, missed his first 2 NBA seasons after having surgery on his right foot in the offseason each year, and then after finally making his debut last year, suffered a knee injury in January and ended up missing the rest of the season. So anytime Joel Embiid is sitting on the bench, there are naturally going to be some concerns. We have our NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj here to tell us what's going on with him. So allay some fears for Sixers fans. What is the deal with the back?
Yeah, there's no cause for alarm with this injury. It's a sore back, and I'm told that Embiid is expected to be back for the Sixers Christmas Day game against the Knicks on Monday, but in the interim, he may miss now their next 2 games, both against Toronto. But they're going to just take precaution. A big man who is as mobile as he is, these type of injuries are going to come up, and they just want to make sure they quell it by just sitting him here for the rest of the week.
All right, so they will proceed with caution with Embiid, but maybe we'll get to see him on Christmas Day, which is always a treat, especially with the Sixers and the way he could play. Let's talk about a much more durable big man. You just spoke with Anthony Davis, a story up on ESPN.com right now. What is the likelihood that Anthony Davis stays with the Pelicans long term?
Well, he's got 3 years left on his deal, and this summer, DeMarcus Cousins will be a free agent, and that'll certainly dictate a lot of Anthony Davis's future in there. He likes playing with Cousins. They have found a way to play very well together. But what Anthony Davis communicated to me was this is the prime of his career. They have missed the playoffs 2 years in a row in New Orleans, and he's finally finding his voice as the franchise player. And I think what he did was lay it down a little bit that they have to get better. They've got to get better talent. This organization has to get better. That he looks at Golden State, San Antonio, Houston, and sees these teams competing for titles and knows that he's not going to be he's going to be judged, as he said, we are judged on winning in this league, and we need to start winning here. We need to get the pieces here to do it.
Right now they're clinging to the 8th spot in the West, a game under 500. We'll see what happens with the Pelicans moving forward. Woj here with us, giving us the story on the NBA.
So the Steelers looking to move on after losing control of the top spot in the AFC. They take care of the Texans, or try to, rather, on Christmas Day. Jeremy Fowler joins us now. You spoke with Big Ben after all of the drama that happened last Sunday. That was late game drama. What did he have to say?
Well, Carrie, the Steelers are 3 days coming out of that Patriots hangover, and it's clear they're trying to use their best defense to combat their questionable offense late in that game. Players want to move on from the mess of it, and the locker room was a scarce scene, but quarterback Ben Roethlisberger was at his locker. He did take questions, and he talked a little bit about the Houston Texans on Christmas Day. After that, I asked Big Ben about the play calling and some of the issues late in the game. Roethlisberger usually has good field vision, Carrie, but not on this subject today.
We don't have to sit and dwell and have hindsight and 20/20 vision or whatever else they call it. We can just sit there and move on. And the great thing about that game is it wasn't the last one of the year. It wasn't a playoff game where we're having this final meetings and all that stuff. We get to move on and play another game this week against a really good opponent at their place. So, and a really good defense especially. You've got to have great communication from head coach to coordinator to quarterback coach to line, and then quarterback to all the players. So it's a great communication environment and something that we pride ourselves in.
What was maybe lacking then on Sunday?
I don't really remember, to tell you the truth, because it's so long ago now.
Carrie, he doesn't remember, but typically he does bounce back against Patriots losses in his last 3 games after losses to New England. He's got nearly 900 passing yards. This time he has to do it without Antonio Brown, of course, who has that contusion on his left leg. Roethlisberger said, AB is simply not human. We can't replace him. We just have to collectively do it. That includes myself playing better.
Yeah, and hopefully AB is better. I love Ben. He goes, I don't remember. I have a short-term memory. That's why I am excellent at what I do. Hopefully, I understand that. You know how that is. Live TV, that happens all the time. Jeremy Fowler, I really appreciate you joining us here on SportsCenter Coast to Coast. Big Ben can't remember. We're on to the next game. We're on to Cincinnati. There's only one scenario for the Steelers this week. If they win at the Texans on Monday and the Jaguars lose at the 49ers on Sunday, likely, then Pittsburgh will clinch a first-round bye. If that does not happen, then it will come down to the final week of the season. Shout out to Brian Larson, our researcher, for this great visual here.
Breaking news into SportsCenter. A lawyer for Michaela Maroney says USA Gymnastics convinced Maroney to sign a confidentiality agreement that would prevent her from publicly discussing the sexual assault she allegedly suffered by former team doctor Larry Nassar. John Manley, the attorney, says USA Gymnastics paid for Maroney's silence and that the deal is part of a systemic cover-up for Nassar, who stands accused of sexually abusing over 140 women. Nassar recently pleaded guilty to 10 counts of criminal sexual conduct and has admitted to using his power as a doctor at Michigan State and with USA Gymnastics to sexually assault young women. Maroney filed a lawsuit today against USA Gymnastics, Nassar, Michigan State, and the U.S. Olympic Committee. Let's bring in our ESPN reporter, John Bart, who's been covering the story for Outside the Lines. John, what more do we know about the origins of that confidentiality agreement?
Well, David, it happened in late 2016. And remember, that was when this scandal was breaking. That is when women were coming forward in droves alleging that they were sexually abused by Dr. Larry Nassar during medical treatments. Now, missing back then were any big-name Olympic gymnasts. Many of us who were reporting the story back then wondered why. If he's accused of molesting all of these other gymnasts, mostly club-level gymnasts up in the East Lansing area near Michigan State where he was employed full-time, why have we not heard from household name Olympians? Well, now we know part of the why. Michaela Maroney, according to her current attorney, John Manley, entered into a confidentiality agreement in late 2016 with USA Gymnastics. She did so, according to Manley, under duress. In his words, she was coerced into doing so. Manley did not negotiate the deal. He wasn't representing her then. And he also would not disclose how much she was paid, but she was effectively paid to keep quiet about the abuse. And according to Manley, that is a violation of California law. It is against the law to have a confidentiality agreement in a child sex abuse case, David.
By speaking out publicly, obviously she has now broken that confidentiality agreement. So has Michaela Maroney opened herself up to being countersued by USA Gymnastics?
Potentially she has. She first spoke out, remember, back in October when she made a Twitter post that